we are back with another episode of Franchise My Business, the podcast for franchisors, hosted by franchisors. I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and we're going to talk about something that is pretty core to business. You know, business, the way we keep scoring business and the fuel of business is money. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't like to track the money that's going through their business. Maybe they're really good at fill in the blank, but they don't like the vocation of the math, the financial aspect of it. And so it's pretty cool when you can find businesses that will handle that for you. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Today, we have the founder and CEO of BooXkeeping. It's a franchise that is designed to help people that want to help people with the accounting function in their business, just simplify that process. So without further ado, Max, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. I love when a lot of people think about franchises. They think about the more visible brands that we're all familiar with. I love the brands that we're not familiar with, the ones that are kind of behind the scenes making business happen. Not the glorious things where you might see the golden arches and stuff, but really what's really making the business hum behind the scenes, the important operational aspects. And finance, you don't know me very well, but finance is one of my least favorite subjects. And so I love it when we can find people that it is their favorite subject and they love to help people with it. And so I like to learn a little bit more about, if somebody's got an accounting business franchise, what's your background? Are you an accountant by trade?
No, I'm not. I'm actually a finance person by trade, but I work for a company called Qualcomm out of college. And over 20 years ago, I just gave him my 2-week notice and said, you know what, I'm done. So July 3rd of 2002 was the last day somebody gave me a paycheck. So from that point on, I just moved on and became an entrepreneur. So for me, the freedom day of 2002, it's my freedom day from a corporate world. So I've never looked back. I mean, no, I'm lying. I've looked back during difficult times. I'm like, I missed my paycheck, but it was very short.
How about a nice safe job, right? And I think all of us entrepreneurs wish for a safe, quote unquote, safe job sometimes. Sometimes you're like, man, why did I do this? Why did I create this mess?
Yes, but luckily it's a very short moment, and then you can go back to reality. I'm like, no, I'm not coming back. But so that's my background, and I've had different businesses. The largest one was a construction business, and I grew it from 3 employees to 96 employees, and then the recession hit, and we had to close it down completely. And during that time, I realized that if I knew my numbers, me being a finance person and us having the full-time accountants, but we're not paying attention. We were growing like crazy because, it was good time and, people needed our services. So we were hiring, getting equipment, and then they stopped building. We were doing tract homes. And then that's it. No income, but a lot of capitalized expenses, a lot of equipment that we needed to pay. And that was it. And if I knew my numbers in the beginning, and if I would pay attention, it would not happen. So that's when I told myself, you know what? I wish somebody would do that for me. So that was like the first thing. And then I went back into the similar business, was maintenance, was more successful, sold it, and then came up with this idea with my co-founder, and we went back, not back, but I guess you can say back. We went back to the roots and started the accounting business.
Yeah, so you were building tract homes, I'm guessing, 2007, 6, 5, in the heydays?
Doing landscaping for tract homes.
Okay,
so,
all right.
That was, so closed the business in 2009. So that's exactly. So I was doing it since 2002, but, the peak was 6, 7, 8, and then, it all went down the drain because they just stopped building in San Diego where I was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough time for anybody in home services or homes or real estate. Frankly, just every American, I think, had a hard time back in then. So it's cool that I think you're in a business now that, I would almost say is recession-resistant this time. The language of business is math and finance, and people always need to get their arms around the numbers. So, I feel like you're somewhat insulated compared to your previous venture, at least, right?
Well, I don't have a lot of equipment. Let's put it this way. I mean, a computer, printer, and, a phone, and I can run the business from anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. And so your business, this business has been around since, I think you mentioned 2011. So you're coming up like 12 years or so. And then your
2011,
franchise,
yeah. Hmm.
yeah. And are you in Vegas? Is that correct? Is that where
No,
you're
I'm
located, or where?
actually still in California, even though I
California.
do travel a lot, but we have offices all over the world. But the company is, a Nevada corporation. I might end up in Vegas in a few years, but for now I'm still in California.
Still in Cali. Still in Cali. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, that's probably why it showed your corporate address. That's probably just your registered agent number. It is Las Vegas. So you start franchising officially, like your paperwork in 2020,
That's
which is another interesting time for business because we've got, well, the whole world's kind of on its rocker. How did you navigate through the pandemic as a newer franchisor, as well as somebody who's operating your company-owned location? What were your
so it
biggest challenges?
it pretty much delayed the start of the franchising. So we got the
Yeah.
approval to start franchising the day we went into lockdown. So for over first year, I was selling, but I wasn't selling because we had a corporate entity and we had to change everything and change the model, and then we had remote employees in different parts of the U.S. and the world, and connecting everybody in lockdown. And some countries had strict restrictions, more, I mean, way worse than the United States. And then we had to deal with that. So for over a year, nothing was done. So it did not affect me. Well, it affected me to the point that it delayed it by 14
Right.
months. Okay. So when people ask me when you started franchising, like, do you want the official story or you want the real story? Because they're completely different. Okay. So
Yeah.
we started it
Yeah.
a year later, even more, like in 2021, by the summer, when we realized that, yeah, we're getting out of the pandemic slowly but surely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your timeline and my timeline are right about the same. We hit basically January of 2020. It's like, hey, let's start. We were franchising, but we felt really good about the work we'd done all year in 2019. Like we spent a good portion of the year, me and my business partner, shoring up the operations. And I don't know, it was a little. I don't know about you, but probably for you even more, because you got your paperwork on the day lockdowns happened. Ours was more of like a gradual thing, and then all of a sudden we're like, well, I guess we shouldn't start offering franchises right now. We should put a pause on this. And for us, I mean, our pause. Honestly, our pause, if I'm super honest, like we just took it off at the beginning of this year. We wanted to make sure, because we have a brick and mortar franchise and stuff. We wanted to make sure things were like rock solid before we started going to franchise sales mode. With you having kind of more of a business service and virtual one, you're able to go back, probably look an entrepreneur in the eye and say, hey, trust me, buy this business in a box from me. You were able to do that a little bit sooner than we were. Where was your first franchise location? Where'd you sell to?
Uh, as majority of articles and books are suggesting, it was so-called friends and family, somebody who knew
Good.
about the business, and I mean, not a family per se, but somebody who knew about the business, and they just decided to give it a try, and it worked. And then
Good.
every other franchisee, they're not, they've never heard about bookkeeping, so we found them in different, ways, but that was a good proof of concept for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And so for somebody who may be thinking about franchising and didn't catch that, I mean, it is a really smart way to go is with your first location. Have somebody who, first of all, knows they're kind of the first one. I mean, obviously they're going to know they're the first one, but have that good relationship with them. We're going through this process right now with another system, and it's really cool to see these first people getting closer and closer to opening. I think they'll open in the next 30, 40 days, and
That's awesome.
we've learned a lot. Yeah, but the thing is, like, you really are doing it in partnership with those people. I mean, as many times as you think about your first franchisees and you think that you've thought of every single thing that they will need, chances are once you really put somebody on your platform, you're going to find a little bit of a gap and you're going to be like, oh, we didn't think about that. So we get to go build it for that person. And having somebody that will be patient with you and go through that feedback loop with you and be a true team member is super important. And that's why family and friends or somebody is generally a pretty good one to go take down your first location.
Well, the way we do it, Kevin, when we bring somebody as a franchisee, they're becoming part of the family. So, it's almost like, a marriage of some sort. And then
Yep.
so we are, dating first before we actually go into the official relationship, because it's not even the partnership. For me, it's more than that, because you're stuck, quote unquote, with this person for 10 years, for the life of your franchise agreement. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
And the only death can, take you apart. But the thing is, we really talking to them and trying to find out, are we the same on the culture? Or do we have the same goals? Because otherwise, it's just not going to work in the long term. So what's the point to even start?
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to, if people go to your website, they're going to notice that your organization serves a lot of franchise systems. There's a lot of well-known brands up here that are franchise brands. I see like Fast Signs. I see Ben Franklin. You've got a lot of companies that are using you. Was that intentional? You've been targeting franchise systems?
No, it just came by accident. And, when we started BooXkeeping in 2011, it was just local bookkeeping firm with big ambitions. I mean, that's why we came up with the name BooXkeeping, and trademarked, only changing one letter in the word bookkeeping, and everybody telling us we're not going to be able to trademark. We were able to trademark. So my advice for people who are not even asking for my advice, just keep going. If somebody tells you it's not going to work, it probably will work if you, really, want to do that. So in a few years, by accident got to one franchisor who decided to give us a try. And then from one, we went to two, went to three. To make the story short, right now we are preferred bookkeeping vendor to 85 franchise brands in the United States. So just 3 weeks ago, we got Sport Clips as our client, which is a huge system. And last week we got Alliance Brands, which includes Sir Speedy, and then Fast Signs, Signorama, and a lot of emerging brands as well. They all are clients. And so being around all these franchisors over the years, being involved in the IFA, the International Franchise Association, gave me this crazy idea that I want to be like one of them. And, I know my fellow accountants are not going to hate me, but whenever I go to an accounting trade show, the mood in the room, it's always like,
down,
very
boring,
heavy, down. We have to go back to our computer. When you are with franchisors, usually a lot of booze is involved, and it's a lot of fun, and everybody having fun, and everybody's super friendly. Like I hang out with people who have 600-700 units, and they're really available for any questions, whether you're in the same industry or not. People help you. Genuinely, people help you in the franchising, and I love that. I really wanted to be around these people. So forget about everything else. That's what drove me to it. And then I started looking at it and came up with this idea March of 2019. I mean, I remember where, I remember how. It was just literally sitting down, and I wrote the business plan on one piece of paper. And then, of course, we made it looking way better and financial projections. But everything that was on this piece of paper went into the business plan for franchising the business. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I imagine if I went to an accounting trade show, it would probably not be that lively. And then you go to a franchising one, and it's absolutely correct, because you've got, franchising is just a business model. It's just a way of collaborating. And then you've got all these other types of businesses that are falling under this umbrella. And so you get almost this smattering of different cultures, different types of people, all these different brands, all these colors. It's a lot of fun. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy. It's like, hey, go to the industry trade show, boring. Go to my franchise trade show, party time. So that's really cool. I love all these logos like Stretch Zone. You guys are doing some awesome work. So I want to talk about people that are joining you as franchisees. Are you finding that a lot of them are first-time franchisees, or do they have other assets in their portfolio and they're adding this on? Maybe share a little bit about who your, ideal franchisee would be, and then a little bit of background on some of the folks that you've attracted.
So ideal franchisee would be somebody who wants to scale, somebody who wants to grow on a daily basis. Because if somebody just wants to buy themselves a job, then probably they're not a good candidate for me. Because for a simple reason, even if they get themselves a good paying job where we are getting, the royalties off, I'll get bored, because I want somebody who is challenging me. Like, hey, how can I do it even better? How can I grow more the territory? People don't realize, but bookkeeping is a $4.2 billion a year industry in the United States. And that's like,
Wow.
it's 3-year-old statistics. I'm still waiting for the new one coming up. I think next month they're going to have a new release. But so I'm sure it's even bigger now. But forget about bigger. 4.2 is huge. So everybody needs it. And so I want somebody who wants to take it to the next level. I mean, we help franchisees to do staffing. We can provide full staffing. We do all the marketing. And of course, the 85 franchises that are clients, if a new franchise opens in their area, they get them as a client, which is, good pipeline for the franchisees. So one of my franchisees actually is a serial entrepreneur. They have a franchise already and they have other businesses, and they decided to include bookkeeping franchise to their portfolio. For everybody else,
Yeah.
I mean, couple people coming from corporate world, somebody had a bookkeeping business and then just didn't know how to sell, how to market it, and then when they joined the system, they, it took off. So we have one of each, I guess, because we're, relatively new and young franchise brands. We are looking for our avatar, but so far, everybody who owns BooXkeeping is actually female, and almost everybody either coming from a corporate world or had some corporate experience before and they wanted to make a change. So that's very interesting. So I guess we are building the avatar slowly but surely, but we are open for everybody else. This is not like we're only open for this market. I mean, I know it's going to be really big for military spouses and for veterans getting out of the service. We are, and first respondents, we're giving 30% discount, which is a pretty aggressive. Usually the industry is 10 to 15. We're doing 30 to respect their service. And right now we are pushing into this direction. So hopefully we can attract some of the candidates this way.
That's really cool. It's interesting you've had so many. Did you say, and I want to make sure I heard you right, that so far all of your franchisees have been females?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Like, that's just pretty wild. That's worked out that way. I'm sure it won't be like that forever, but that's pretty wild. That's the avatar that you've attracted thus far.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about how you guys are thinking about expansion. Is this a model, I think I probably know the answer, but is this a model that you can expand internationally? And I would assume if so, it comes with a certain layer of complexity because we don't, have an IRS in Canada, for example. So like a business model like yours, would it really just for the United States, or do you foresee being able to go internationally with it?
So first of all, we don't do any taxes, and that makes us unique compared to, for example, H&R Block. I mean, I'm just using them. We can go into Liberty Tax, we go to other ones, but let's use H&R because it's probably the most famous tax, and now they do accounting, bookkeeping services as well. Everybody knows them. Everybody's seen the logo. They're in each shopping mall. So we get a lot of referrals from local and not only local CPA firms. Okay. So I have a feeling that if I own an H&R Block, a CPA will not be sending business my way because I'm a direct competitor. Okay.
Right.
So when we don't do that, CPA feels safe to send us the client because we can only help. Because without us doing the bookkeeping, a CPA or enrolled agent is not able to do his or her job by filing the taxes on time. All right, because if people come in and like, hey, I don't have anything for the year, so they're putting you on extension, and then somehow it needs to get done.
I like that. Yeah, you're not a threat at all. That totally makes sense.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, I see us going to Canada. I probably just because there is only 24 hours a day, even though I'm trying to find extra hours every day and I'm unsuccessful doing that, I probably want to sell a master territory in Canada and partner up with somebody to do that. I just simply don't have it in me right now or among the executive team to take it to Canada because US is such a big market, all right? But again, if I find a good partner, then yes, we'll definitely go. Pretty much any English-speaking country, they have Xero, which we're certified QuickBooks. We're a national partner of Intuit. So we can definitely go international. But I think Canada would be the logical choice of going next after the US.
Awesome. I also like the fact that you have like a couple of, like if I go, I'm checking out your franchise opportunity website. And so the fact that you are QuickBooks and Xero certified means that you can pretty much serve anybody, you know, and I've been on both. And so I have this unique point of view where an accountant pushed me to Xero to work with them. And so I had to migrate like all my stuff over from QBO. And then when that accountant went away, I was like, well, I really don't like Xero, and migrated back. And that was a big headache for my business. So that's really cool that you offer both of those solutions.
We actually also offer Accounting Suite, NetSuite, Sage. So we are not, just signed up with one system. And I can tell you, up to now, all of my competitors are picking one. Okay? And they have a reason. And I understand the logic, but when we were designing, I said, you know what? I'm going to give a freedom to my franchisees to pick what they like. Like I still believe I might find a franchisee soon who just will specialize in restaurant businesses. And there are systems that just designed for restaurants. We don't use it because my team will kill me if I have to add another piece of software. Okay. And I love life too much to be killed now. But if a franchisee wants to go this route, and go with this particular software, and I know there is a niche, by any means do it. Okay, so that's why we are not limiting franchisees what system to use. So we're generalists. Of course, Intuit is the majority of our platform, only because they own over 90% of the market. But again, if somebody wants to be 100% on Xero, we'll tell them go for it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That would give me, just as a prospective customer, like it reduces one barrier for your franchisees to bring on accounts. Let me put it that way, because I thought that was a pretty weird thing, but I also get it. I mean, if you're going to be a specialist in Xero, or you're going to be a specialist in QBO or Sage or whatever it is, that's what you're going to be a specialist in, and you don't necessarily want to run other software in your accounting business. So really cool. If people want to learn more about your organization or link up with you, like where's the best place for them to go to do that online?
So BooXkeeping, and it's spelled BOOXKEPING. So we change one letter instead of the first K, it's X. BooXkeepingFranchise.com. Even if you put Bookkeeping Franchise on the website, on the Google, will be one of the first one to come up. Or you can just, look me up, Max Emma. It has its pros and cons, but there is not too many Max Emmas, on LinkedIn, on Google. So you probably can find me this way. But BooXkeeping Franchise, we've been featured in different, magazines. And just last week, we became one of the top 10 bookkeeping providers in the U.S. by Financial Review magazine. So another award that we won, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud of my team. No way I would be able to do it without them. That's 100%.
No.
It's all down.
And you do have quite a few accolades and symbols on your website, just cool things that you've done or associations that you're contributing to. So I can tell that you're all in on this, not only from your business perspective, but also the industry. And I think that speaks a lot to your leadership style and the type of organization that you're building. So thank you so much for taking time to visit with us, and more importantly, our guests today, our listeners.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening today. Hopefully you got some nuggets of gold out of Max in our conversation. 2 quick favors. Number 1, I'd love it if you subscribe if you're not already doing so. And number 2, if you haven't left a review yet, please hop on over and do so. Until next time, I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and I hope you have a phenomenal week and be well.